Hello again and welcome to another GCSE Computer Science Theory lesson. This video is going to be on Unit 6, an introduction to cybersecurity. So let's get started with a brief overview of all of the terminology you need to know for the exam paper. So first we'll talk about social engineering, followed by malicious code, weakened default passwords, misconfigured access rights, removable media, and then finally we'll talk about unpatched or outdated software. So starting with social engineering. Social engineering is the art of lying, tricking and manipulating people so that they'll give up confidential or sensitive information. So the art of lying, tricking and manipulating people, it doesn't necessarily have to take place on the computer screen. It can also happen in the form of a phone conversation or a text message. It can even happen in person. But the idea of social engineering is just simply the act of tricking somebody into doing something they wouldn't normally do. And in terms of computing, that is normally tricking someone to do something wrong on their computer. So in these examples that I've got on the screen, this is an example of a fake virus alert in which an unsuspecting victim will be tricked into giving this phone number a ring. And once they give that number a ring, chances are they will be tricked even further into giving away financial information and have money stolen from them. The same goes for this text message here. It looks like quite a convincing text message, especially if you were to live in the area of Swansea. But if we look at that website link, that's clearly a fake website. The idea is the victim of this social engineering attack, somebody might click on that link and unwittingly give away their financial information and then have some money stolen from them. Something to be aware of, the majority of cybersecurity attacks are usually in the form of social engineering. Now, Hollywood action movies would have you believe that hacking is about keyboards and programming and sitting in a dark room wearing sunglasses. In reality, most cybersecurity attacks, they all happen through social engineering, the practice of exploiting people or taking advantage of people who don't know any better. So, next we'll talk about malicious code. This is also known as malware. Now, malicious code is an umbrella term for any code that does something harmful to your computer system. Just for your information, when most people talk about viruses, generally speaking, people are actually, what they mean to say is malware. So when you talk about antivirus scanners, it's incorrect to call it an antivirus scanner. What we're talking about are anti-malware devices or anti-malware software. So weakened default passwords, what are they? Well, they're passwords that can be easily cracked or guessed. And when we say cracked, I mean a bit of software is going to try every single combination of your password until it has been ascertained, or if it is guessed because it is a commonly used phrase. So an example of a weak password would be something that a user selects that is not very complex, like football or QWERTY. These can be quite easily guessed by somebody trying to hack into your account. Default passwords, on the other hand, are slightly different. They are passwords that come pre-installed with whatever software package you're using. So, for example, there is an operating system that is used on kiosk machines called Porteous Linux. By default, the main administrator password for that is available online. You can get it just by a simple Google search. The same goes for a lot of routers out there that you get free with your internet subscription. So for example, if you were to buy a Sky broadband router, the default administration password is just the word Sky. So just a bit of food for thought there for you. Their default passwords are extremely weak in their own right because the information is already out there on the internet. So next we'll talk about misconfigured access rights. So when we talk about misconfiguration in terms of access rights, it is when a user is accidentally given permission to access something that they shouldn't normally be able to access. An example, if a student account in a school was accidentally given access to look at staff files. Next we'll talk about removable media. So removable media are any devices that you can bring from your home and bring into your office to introduce files. So a USB flash drive, a floppy disk, a CD or a DVD, anything that you can put your own content onto and and move it from machine to machine. The problem with having USB devices enabled in a school network or an office is that a user could accidentally, or sometimes maliciously, bring in some malware on that device and introduce it into the school's network or your office network. And finally, we'll talk about outdated or unpatched software. So over time, vulnerabilities in software can be discovered. So if we take the example of Windows XP, at the time of recording this video, Windows XP is about 20 years old. In the space of 20 years, there's been thousands of software vulnerabilities that have been sort of unrooted in the code. Most of it has been patched, but as of recording, the operating system is no longer supported. There are no longer security updates. So whenever a vulnerability is found, it is just there open in the wild for people to exploit. So chances are, if you were to connect to the internet using Windows XP, well, you'd have a big sort of gaping security hole in your system for anyone on the internet to try and exploit.